Bradford City robbed in a 0-0 draw against Salford City. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video if you do go on to do so, and subscribe if you're new. All the support is massively appreciated. Now, was it a pretty performance? Did we play well? All that sort of stuff. It wasn't a great performance. The first half, I'll credit Danny Whittingham for this. He will be in the comments. He comments regularly, and he sits on my row, and he said to me at half time, he said, "Where's your dad?" Because he wasn't at the game. I was with my uncle. So it was a bit of a shock to him, and he said, and I said, "Look, he's not here, he's painting." And he said, "So he's done the painting and you're watching the paint dry." So that's your funny clip from today, courtesy of Danny Whittingham. And that was exactly what it won the first half. The second half, there was a big improvement. I thought there would be. I thought we'd press up higher. I thought we'd have more momentum in our moments of attacks, and I thought we'd keep the ball better. And parts of that is true. But it wasn't dominating enough as we needed to be to beat Salford. But we were undone by a terrible decision from the refereeing officials. Now, I don't know if it's the referee's fault himself. I don't know if it's the assistant's fault. I don't know if it's the technology's fault, because I'm sure GDS is in League 2 and it should have flashed through on his watch. Now, it didn't, and ultimately that has cost us 3 points. Whether the performance were good enough or not, teams will go up, teams play poorly, and it's about getting your luck and scrapping through a game where you haven't played well enough but you get the 3 points. And that was our moment, that was our chance, that was our goal, and it's been took away from us. And I've seen it back. At the time I thought it would, and then I thought, well, it mustn't have not have. And you just take the decision for what it is. And then when you get home and you look at it on the replays and you see it go clearly over the line, you see the paused pictures and it's clearly over the line, and then you look at the referee and he's clearly an idiot because he hasn't got it right. I don't know how it hasn't flagged up as a goal. So a load of questions have to be asked about that poor decision that has cost us 3 points. And you could go back in this at May and you could go, right, that's cost us 3 points, that cost us promotion because of a stupid decision that hadn't gone our way. And yes, I say the performance wasn't great, and there were moments in the game where we were poor, and you've got to fight for your points, you've got to fight for the 3 points, as Neil Warnock said. You've got to show more in the 90 minutes, then it isn't blamed on one decision. But ultimately we scored and it was took away, and that's 3 points that we won't get back this season, 2 points that we won't get back this season. So that I'm very frustrated about that, because I can take a poor decision. I can't. That is what I can't take. I can take a poor performance from a player that's cost us. I can take a poor managerial decision. I can take being undone by being the worst team on the day and the better team won. I can take that. But what I can't take is an injustice, and that's what it was. So when you get home and you see those pictures, it's very frustrating. And like I say, come back in May, you might just say that and go, that's cost us this season. And it's another game where Bradford City are host at Valley Parade. Now, I think it's probably our own undoing. Like I say, the first half, I'll talk about the match now. I might as well give the ref watch rating of 3. Well, that's generous. I'm going to give him a 1. Championship standard referee. I mean, I've got it here from the preview still. 22-23, refereed 18 championship games. No wonder he's now back in League 2, having only 2 League 2 games all season, because he's bloody useless. I mean, I've put it down to his officials as well, maybe technology for the goal, but we should have had a penalty. I've just remembered that. Cross comes in, player lies flat on the ball with his hand touching it. Should have won a penalty. Terrible decision, and the player looked guilty. They're guilty when they run straight away. They're running straight off away from the scene because they're guilty. So that was a really poor decision as well. And there was countless offsides. Now I don't know if that's our players for being imbeciles, because we can't decide whether we're offside or not, and how to track your run and how to time your run, because it's the most. It's a thing you learn straight away. I mean, I've never really played at level, but you know how to stay on side, to beat your line and to time you run, and that were poor. And we did to overdo some passes. I thought we were trying to force it in behind our defence over the top, and we were trying to play too quickly over the top, and some players were making the run, sometimes we weren't making the run. We didn't look for it. So yeah, at times you are going to be offside, and that's poor. And Alex Patterson got done many times, but there were loads of times, especially Alex Patterson, but also happened for Salford as well, where you think, I don't think he's offside, and the flag's straight up. the times where the player hadn't touched the ball, and you can display advantage. So I thought the officials were absolutely shocking today, to be honest with you. Another poor performance, not to mention the time wasting. The time wasting extra time, it doesn't get added on, of course. But yeah, the time wasting were an absolute joke. And the thing is, at Valley Parade, it always happens, and they're never caught on to it. Never ever caught on to it. Time wasting, players going down. Always happened when we had a bit of momentum. Always went down after we had a corner. Always went down after stoppage in play, just to stop our momentum. And it clearly worked, and that's how teams are going to play at Valley Parade. And how can you then, get any momentum in the game, get any domineering foothold in the game, when you're getting a bit of that momentum, you're getting a few chances coming away, the fans are behind you, and then a player goes down injured. It happens all the time at Valley Parade. And the referees never caught on to it, and they always fall for it. There must have been 5 or 6 injuries for Salford. None of them came off. Surprising, not. So I'm very frustrated about the officials. So you know what, they get a 1, and that goes with Jeff Eltringham. Absolutely shocking referees in England, as we all know. So the game, away from the dodgy decisions. First half, I've already said it was like watching paint dry in many ways. We defended well enough. We got the clean sheet. I thought, I'll talk about it in the player ratings tomorrow. There's no player ratings now on the match reactions, which is a good positive for me, because it means my videos are less long, better for you to watch. But you don't have to listen to me 40 minutes talk on SHD more, so that should be out tomorrow. But no player ratings, because you don't need me to say it twice, do you? But Baldwin very impressed with, so you'll get to hear what I think about him. But I'm just going to say it because I can do what I want. It was my man of match, so there you go. If that's ruined tomorrow's video for you. But when you play like that, it comes with a risk that you are going to be quite boring, not entertaining, and you are going to be seen as let's get a point instead of winning a game sort of a team and manager. And that's the sort of risk you take when you're playing in a low block, very deep. We were really deep. I noticed that, when we had the ball, we were defending deep. And Salford, to be fair, pressed us really high, and I was really impressed with Salford's press, and it caused us a lot of trouble playing out, which meant we had to go to a load of long balls towards Andy Cook, towards Callum Kavanagh, and Till and Negru were fantastic aerially, and I was expecting that. So yeah, they had a very comfortable game, because Cook and Kavanagh didn't really prove to do much in the air, unfortunately. So that meant a lot of the balls came back, and we didn't really know how to stop the wave of attacks of Salford in the first half. So it just meant that it were wave after wave, it were bombardment at times, and but we managed to manage it well, because we were very defensive and boring, and it's not what you want to see at home. But we managed to get through at 0-0, and I didn't really felt like they had any real good chances. I didn't feel like they got anywhere. There were a few iffy moments where you think, that could have resulted to some of that they looked a bit dangerous in that instance. But then it was an instance, and then they didn't really find that groove again. So I was really impressed with how we hung on at times. But it does mean that you're limited on when you get the ball. They're going to press you high. You've got to go along, and we just couldn't find any sort of rhythm in keeping the ball. Second half, we got more momentum, and we had a load of good chances, and I thought that's where we dominated, and not dominated maybe is a bit exaggerated, but I feel like that's where we deserved to win the game from our second half performance, where we got the goal, and it wasn't given. It was clearly off the line. I've always said that. Sarcevic, we had a few. I talk about forcing the ball. We were doing that way too often. Shorter passes players were making short passes to feet to turn, and we weren't playing those passes. That we were playing jack passes, long balls into a channel where players weren't running. And there was an instance where we had one touch hoof, and we just kept going forward with it and beating the press somehow and kept flicking it. And it ended up with Sarcevic in behind their defence, and it was a really poor finish. He should have gone the other corner and low and hard. So it was a poor finish, but a good move, and that was another where I thought we should have scored. Sarcevic again had a great chance where he hit the ball over the bar on the edge of the box. Poynton came on, had a few shots as well, and created a few good chances with Clark-O'Dwyer. Impressed with him. So we had some really good combinations in moments, mainly in the second. All came in the second half, and they killed our momentum, unfortunately. there were more positives I think to take from the game, mainly with the second half. There's something to build on in the second half to go into Bromley, because that is a must win now. You know, you go right, first 2 games you got 4 points from 2. I'd be fantastically happy with that. I don't know why I said that. I'd be delighted with that. Because I feel like that is a strong foundation to then go into the 3rd game of the season, 2nd home game of the season, and go and beat it against a newly promoted team. But they have won their first 2, so they're going to prove a threat, and they're going to have their own challenges. But we've got to win that. There's no excuses in that game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that now. We move on to that game. We've got a point. We should have had the 3 points. There was really poor moments in the game where it was dull, it was boring, it was defensive. But then the second half, we attacked a bit more, we opened up a bit more, we pressed higher, and there's more foundations to build off from that second half, which I think we'll look for the positives in that, and we'll look from the positives of getting a point, is that 9 unbeaten now, following on from last season, maybe 10 unbeaten following on from last season. I think it is 10, not losing our first home game. It gives us something to build on, and I think that's the foundation, and still being undefeated, and we look relatively solid defensively, in my opinion, only conceding 1 from 2. Partnerships will be formed, chemistry will be built, and trust will be formed and built in that time as well when you get wins, and hopefully we can get a win on Saturday. If we don't win Saturday and we lose, that's where trouble starts to hit. That's where the Titanic hits the iceberg. But we're sailing nicely along the Pacific at the minute. Let's hope we swave the iceberg. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you're new, on the road to 700 subscribers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on that 0-0 draw, and the referees, who was your man of match, your player ratings as well. Watch more SHD tomorrow, where I give my player ratings with Sam SHD. So I'll see you then. Have a good one.